Hey, and welcome to Matt and Jess TV. I am Matt Roast.
And I'm Jessica Bun Bun.
Welcome to our reaction and review for The White Lotus Season 3, Episode 5. Who wants to party with us? We're recording this at night. That's probably the only thing that we have in common with the events of this episode. Like, when was the last time you were out at night to party?
I don't even remember. Listen, I just turned 50 and my birthday was spent eating Black Forest cake and playing Catan. And that's a good time to me, going to bed at a reasonable hour.
See, I'm legally blind. I can't drive, so that means I'm pretty much stuck in the house every time at night, unless I want to get run over on the street because people can't see me. So we are not the sort of people who could probably relate to a lot of what happened, but oh boy, was there a lot that happened over the course of this that I think is going to set the stage for a lot of hard conversations in the morning.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, even in my youth, I wasn't quite this wild. I mean, this must be a shocker to everybody, but I was a nerd and I'm a nerd now and I was a nerd then. So some of the things that's going on in this episode, I'm just like, I don't even know. But I will say that for me, I have loved this season of White Lotus. This is my favorite season so far. Season 2 was my least favorite. And it's just because it's about cheating. There was so much cheating that was going on. I know that's not what it's about, but there was so much cheating going on. It's a subject that makes me really uncomfortable. I don't really like watching it. So this is my least favorite episode. There's still a lot of really good stuff going on in there. But the minute that I watched Chelsea kissing somebody else, I was like, Rick, no, this couple is somebody that I really root for. I know it's dysfunctional, but there's something really special here.
Yeah, I don't have necessarily a least favorite yet. All I know is that my favorite episode is with Rick and the snakes, which is totally added to it by the fact that I've learned that Walton is apparently extremely afraid of snakes and he was just paralyzed the entire time shooting it. But yeah, I come out of this episode and I am speaking to Chelsea now. I'm not disappointed. I'm mad. I'm just sort of like, why could you do this to us? I was on here extolling your virtues, talking about how you were one of my favorite characters. You were so funny. You were so kind. To Rick, your relationship was so weird. Yes, I understand that he let loose the snakes and nearly killed you, but I think he still cares about you.
Chelsea, I still love you. I still think you are all of those things. You had a misstep. You don't need to be kissing Chloe or anybody else. We don't know if it went any further than that. It didn't need to be going there either. A kiss is a cheat as far as I'm concerned. But can she bounce back from it? I feel like yes. I feel like there can still be more as long as it doesn't go further than that.
Speaking of kisses, ... We're going to get a lot more into that. But before do, be sure to hit that subscribe button because, yeah, we are in the midst of covering The White Lotus and we have all sorts of good stuff related to that on the channel. But coming up, The Last of Us Season 2 is not that far down the road. You guys might have seen the new trailer for it already. We are going to be here covering that. You know, we love HBO shows. We love The Last of Us. We had a great time with Season 1. So be sure to subscribe so you do not miss that.
And thank you so much to everyone who has subscribed. We just hit a huge milestone here at the channel. We've been doing this a really long time, and we just hit 70,000 subscribers. We are so excited about it. So just thank you from the bottom of our heart for helping us get to this milestone. It's something that we never thought would happen for us. So thank you so much. And if you do want to support us further, you can hit the link below in the description for our Patreon. Over there, we are covering The Pit, which is airing on Max. And we are going to be covering Bosch Legacy. That's Prime Video, and that's going to be coming up really soon. And it is the only place that you can get those weekly reviews. So thank you so much. It just means so much to us. We're just so overwhelmed with the support that the channel has had, especially the past few days. Thank you.
Yeah, it's been very, very touching for us. We really appreciate that. And there's...
Oh, man. Okay, we just need to talk about Locke here and what's going on with Saxon. Bro, are you good? This is not sitting well. And I know that it's the White Lotus and it is supposed to not sit well. That is a big portion of the show. It's here to make you feel uncomfortable and have these uncomfortable situations. But I think for me, I know a lot of people are gonna be like, oh, I knew it, and they're gonna be hooking up, and it's about the brothers hooking up. And I still feel like tinfoil hat,
Yeah.
it's not about them, it's more about Locke trying to figure out who he's interested in. Not his brother, but men.
I think that's really where we are going. I mean, I could sit here and do a big pedestal rant about HBO and how you guys always seem to love these shows with this particular sort of relationship. Need I say more?
Also, full D, like every episode now. Vlad, woo!
Okay,
What's happening here?
we're gonna get back to Vlad, but I kind of have to say Vlad may actually be my guy after this episode. Vlad was like hitting 3 home runs in every single scene he was in. But okay, we'll get to you, Vlad. But Locke, I think you're on it. I think that's what exactly this is, because I think it's just we have to see this, and it's reflected in everything with Piper too, and we'll get into that. It's just that this is a family that is all about repression and sort of adhering to, and this is a word that I hate it when people say it because it feels very outdated, but because Piper said it, I'm gonna say it. Values. They have very specific values that this family adheres to, and they don't want anybody deviating outside the norm. And how Saxon has been able to handle this, and I know this because I grew up in the South, and I've probably met like 20 people who are identically like Saxon minus a couple of the very weird parts, but you kind of have the look, the feel, the style, but you still got this dark side underneath that you're able to cover up. But I think the truth is that a lot of people can't do that. Piper doesn't want to do that. Piper wants to do her own thing, and it feels like she knows what that her own thing is. But with Locke, he really doesn't know how to express what's going on inside him because it's so different from the rest of the family. And Piper was able to convince them to go and allow her to have this outlet. Locke hasn't been able to convince him to do anything. Maybe because Locke doesn't fully know himself yet.
Yeah, I think he is starting to kind of figure it out, but because this family is very much about their values, and you have to be on a certain road or else, that he just doesn't really know what to do with this and what to do with what's going on inside him and how he feels, and can he ever go on his own road. And now here he is on this boat with these ladies, with his brother, and now he's kissing him, and it's all sort of everything is just let loose. They're drinking, they're having other party favors. That's just kind of opening the door to things. I felt like Chelsea's face said it all. When you have Chloe being like, oh, you two now, to the brothers, and then they're kissing, the look on Chelsea's face of just like, I don't want to be here anymore. I was like, girl, same. I don't want to be here anymore with this.
There are certain things in life that I think are immediate, just like, oh, what we're doing is very, very wrong and we should stop doing it moments. It's sort of like, even if you're just at a normal college party and you hear somebody knocking on the door, whether it's the cops or somebody else, and you see how rowdy everybody else is, you're like, oh yeah, this is actually something that shouldn't be going on because we're making too much noise. But this is an even more extreme variation of that, where, and I'm still not going to defend what Chelsea did because I don't like it and it makes me mad. But I think Chelsea, she was upset in the moment because Rick ignored her call. Rick did not take her with him to the city. Like, all these other things are going on. She's had a little bit too much to drink. She had some other party favors. It's like moment happens. And I think she's just thinking, oh, we're just having fun, goofing off, whatever sort of explanation she's got going in her head. It's one thing for her to do this with Chloe. It's another thing to actually watch two brothers repeat that action. And I even think when Chloe is like, I don't even think Chloe thought they were actually going to do it.
No, and I was hoping that it wasn't going to go there myself. It was very uncomfortable to watch, as it was supposed to be. So, Mike White, well done. You have ruined my night with that. But the rest of this episode, I mean, there was a lot going on here. Like,
Yeah.
let's get into our guy Rick. I mean, he's off now having what at first I was like, why are we having this really weird conversation with Sam Rockwell that is just going in all kinds of directions where I was like,
Mhm.
where is this going, Sam? You need to like wrap this up, Frank. What are we doing here? And it finally started to come around to what I think was really the point, which is we know that Rick is out here. He's meeting up with
Mhm.
Frank to, get some stuff from him to be able to deal with
Yeah.
Jim and what's going to be going on there, where he thinks that this is the man that murdered his father and he needs to get something out of it. And
Yeah.
we've talked about this in other White Lotus reviews and stuff like that, that is this going to fulfill him? Is he finally going to get this revenge and he's going to look in Jim's face and be like, do you know what you did to me? Prepare to die, sort of thing. And then kill him. And then what? Is his soul going to be filled? No. And I think that as this conversation was going on with Frank, where he finally got to the point where he's just like, yeah, I thought this would fulfill nothing. And then nothing, nothing I was doing was fulfilling me. So I just stopped it. And now I feel okay.
I have a lot of different questions about this entire scene and how all of this came together. I mean, first of all,
I love you, Sam Rockwell.
if you're Mike White, how does this come up where you go to Sam Rockwell, who, I mean, he might have been in Thailand already, and he's married to Leslie Bibb, who's on the show, and
He's an
so
icon.
yeah, he's an icon. So I don't know if he just went to him and it's just like, hey, if you're in Thailand, do you want to shoot maybe 2 days on the show in this character? Oh, by the way, I've got I don't know how many pages this monologue was, but it felt like a lot.
Yeah.
Maybe it was, hey, Sam Rockwell, you come do this, you come kill this material, which of course he did. He's Sam
did.
Rockwell, no surprise there. But you can get a guest actor Emmy nomination, which he will probably be getting for this performance. And he was just like, I'm full on board with the strangest monologue it might be the strangest monologue I've ever seen or heard in the White Lotus. It's not the strangest moment. That will always go to Armand our King from season 1. But this
That's
is
poor suitcase.
you know what, whatever. But I just think that it was just such a strange monologue, and I did wonder, okay, where are they going? But they brought it home with, I think, a really good point about enlightenment. And this sort of raises this interesting possibility now for Rick, because there's a couple of different ways he can go about this. He can meet Jim, he can go full Iligo Montoya on him.
Yeah.
He can have that happen. Or he can meet him and say, you know what? I wanted to see you. I have. He can leave. Or he could just not meet him at all. And that to me is where I would like to see all of this go, because I would like to see him have a realization on his own that, okay, I don't need to do this. I don't need to take this person out. Like, I know that there are a lot of people out there who still think that Jim may be his father and that he was just told incorrect information. And, you know,
he could be.
That may or may not be the case. It's possible. I just think, to me, what matters most is not necessarily who Jim is or even what Jim has done. It's more about whether or not Rick can find peace within himself and whether Rick can move forward in his life, because it's like, Rick, my dude, you have a woman who is crazy about you to the point that she has like little hearts on her phone to your name that come up right when she's about to get into it with somebody else, but that's an entirely different story. But it's just, you have somebody who clearly loves you, who understands you, who you have not been treating that great. And I understand there's a lot of different reasons for it, but I'm not that much of I don't think I'm that cheesy all of the time, but I'm going to be cheesy here for a moment. I want this season to end with Rick and Chelsea, where Rick is really trying to just go back and do the metaphorical, show up with the boombox and try to be like, Chelsea, I love you, I'm sorry. And they find a way to make this work, even though that's probably not how things are going to go.
Probably not. I mean, this is supposed to be a season of sort of spiritual awakening and kind of finding yourself and finding peace within yourself. And we know how this season started, so there's going to be some problems that are coming up. But at the same time, we are watching this possibly happen for Rick right now. Like, this conversation I think that he had with Frank is really important. We even saw him back at the hotel afterwards, like thinking about what was said, sort of thinking about is this really going to fulfill him? And then making the decision to go straight to his woman and call her
Yeah.
instead of like, oh, maybe I'll just go to bed. Oh, I'm just going to keep it on and see Jim. My real hope is that he is not going to see Jim, that he's going to listen to what Frank said, where Frank
Yeah.
was like, yeah, the way that this stopped for me is I stopped. I full stop. I was done with it, and I've never felt better in my life. That maybe Rick will get there too, where he's just like, oh, what am I going to get out of this? Either I'm going to meet him, he's going to be like, yeah, I did that. I'm going to meet him, he's going to be like, no, I didn't do that, and lie to him. Or he's going to be like, I'm actually your father, which is another huge can of worms that's going to make him feel even worse. Or Rick is going to kill him. Like none of these outcomes are actually going to fill Rick's soul in a way that's going to make him unbroken. But walking away from it might. It gives him the control for himself to be able to fill himself.
I'm going to crouch a little into a fetal position for a moment here.
Oh.
Because I'm scared. I'm scared of what's going to happen here with Rick. I'm scared of how this season is going to end. But the thing that scares me the most is that if Rick had talked to Chelsea in that very moment, he wouldn't have gone to see Jim. He would have come home, and then everything would have been said and done. But because he didn't talk to her in that moment, he's going to make the wrong decision now. And this is not Chelsea's fault. Rick is capable of making his own decisions, but I think it's just a chain of circumstantial events. Please don't do this to me, White Lotus. I don't know if I can take it. You've already made Chelsea cheat, and I'm upset enough about that.
Listen, Chelsea wasn't, I don't think, going to swing that pendulum either way. She has been trying and trying and trying and trying. And because Rick can't make himself happy, he's unable to clearly make anybody around him happy. I mean, Chelsea's been saying, she's been super positive. What do you need?
Yep.
How can I help you? Let's try this. Let's try that. Nothing is getting through. Chelsea wasn't and isn't the person that was going to get through. And I think that's the point of this season, right? It's about self-discovery and self-spiritualization and all of that it has to come from Rick or it doesn't matter. And I think that's, again, why Frank's whole story was as important as it was for Rick to fill Rick's mind with this idea that he is in control of himself and that he can do it and make these changes for himself.
Good on you, Sam Rockwell, for doing this. And good on you, too, by the way, HBO, for actually being able to keep this a secret for as long as they did. I didn't catch any wind of that ahead of time. But okay, let's talk about the three women here, because I'm also going to I'm going to rank the three Vladivostok guys here. Okay, so number one is easily by far, it is my dude, Vlad, who, by the way,
full D Vlad,
as a fellow member of the Bald Coalition, I applaud you for having as much confidence as you do in yourself to apparently get hammered and drop everything and jump into the pool with that tattoo, with the fact that every single conversation you start revolves around your mother dying when you were a child.
Absolutely brilliant. So funny.
Every second that Vlad is on screen, it is a complete and total. I understand that he might be one of the people who robbed the White Lotus earlier this season, but they haven't showed that yet. So I'm going to be ignorant for a little while. Number two, I don't love it, but I'm still going to have our hotel dude here, number two, because number three is Alexei, and I do not care about him at all. He stinks.
No, I mean, this story was fine. This whole episode was really about like things like escalating and ramping up and like getting to this really wild spot where people are making terrible decisions. And, we saw everything really ramping up with, Lori and these guys. And then the night ends, everybody goes home, and we have Jackie getting the text and, dudes coming over sort of thing. And it's such a sad situation to see. She's with somebody. Again, I'm not into like the affair, cheating shows, or these types of storylines are not for me. Give me revenge all day. Cheating, blah, I'm not here for it. But the fact that was like gassing up her friend all night, to be with this guy or be with two guys. And then the night ends and she's the person calling up the guy that she's like gassing her up to be with. It was just really sad. I mean, friendships and female friendships, like, you gotta roll with your girls. I understand these friendships aren't as tight as they used to be, but like, don't do your friends dirty over nothing,
Okay.
over some D.
Okay, Jacqueline, it's time to have a psychoanalysis here of what's going on with you and with Valentine. So, okay, you are someone who probably, you're famous, you're a celebrity, you've had a lot of things go for you over the course of your life. And I
Right.
feel like when the three of you were close so many years ago, you were probably the most popular one. You were probably the one who had a lot of things happen for you then too. And you saw something that Lori wanted and you took it because that's something that has always been in your dynamic. And we've seen this earlier this season with Lori being taken down by Kate and Jacqueline when Lori is not around, then Lori catching a feel of it and getting really, really emotional. And so a lot of that is going on here with Jacqueline. But then there's also the other part of it where she's got her actor dude who's back presumably working or doing whatever. He doesn't answer the phone, so she's really, really upset about that. And I think she's questioning, especially after what Valentine did and sending him to this other place where the old people were. It's just like, am I old? Am I not fun anymore? And so she's got all this. So I think she's trying to prove something to herself that she doesn't need to prove to herself. And she's also trying to reaffirm this power dynamic in her head that's outdated and also just mean, and there's no point in it.
Yeah, it feels like it's, to me, more about that, and in that way validating herself, that, she's like, oh yeah, I've got these friends that are kind of beneath me, but I like having them around because it makes me feel better, so I'm gonna take this thing away from her. Like, your man didn't call you back for, like, what's it been, a day? Like,
Yeah.
you'll be okay. Like, you're on vacation. Maybe he's like, I'll call you in the morning, it'll be okay.
I really just have to say this. What is it going to be like with Valentine now? It's like, hello, ladies. Welcome to your next wellness session at
That's
the
the
hotel.
Listen, that is the least of the conversations that are going to be awkward the next day, when it's like, hello, brother, do you want to talk about what happened last night?
That's the craziest part of it, because there's still all these lingering mysteries in the aftermath of all of this. It's like this. The Rick and Chelsea story is the one. It's the one that I'm the most mixed up in emotionally. I think the Jacqueline Valentine thing, like, I'm not like super shocked that it's like, okay, this dynamic is just going to continue. I don't think this story is going to end well.
And then sweet Belinda, look at you
I
getting
know.
some. It was so romantic,
I
like
know.
with everything that was going on.
Yeah.
Thank you, Mike White, for giving me a little bit of a reprieve of something
Yeah.
that's just sweet and romantic. I love love. So, like, seeing this
Yeah.
kind of coming through the past few episodes to this point where she's talking about consent and he's
Yeah.
just sitting on the bed smiling and nodding. Oh my gosh. I was just living for this.
You know what's hot, everybody? Consent and this guy. This guy is the hottest guy on the White Lotus.
I know.
It's just because he's so
He
sweet.
is.
He's so tender.
Ripped.
He's ripped. He cares a lot about her. He seems very respectful.
Yes.
I really like this guy. I'm just glad something is going well for Belinda. And I think beyond just that, the fact that he agreed to stay there for the night, I think it also means that he's going to be inclined to believe in her. And I think that's
Yes.
really important long term here, because I think the biggest concern that I've had, and it was reflected in what Fabian did in this episode, was just either that nobody was going to believe her,
Right.
or they just weren't inclined to believe her. Like, she's there as still an employee of
Right.
this company. She's not there as a guest. She's not the person who's giving them all the money. Greg/Gary is the one giving them all the money.
That's right. If this was Victoria walking up to him and being like, hey, this is a thing that's happening, Fabian would have been like, let me look into that. And because it's Belinda, he's not doing that. So the fact that she does have somebody that she could be like, listen, I'm positive this is what is happening, and now Greg Gary is looking into me. It's pretty worrisome. And tinfoil hat, I said this in the last episode, I think that Chloe knows or has a very firm idea of who he is and that this probably happened. She's probably already Googled him, and it was easily one of the quicker things that probably came up about him, and she was able to find him. He didn't like really change his name that much.
No.
Greg, Gary, stop it. I think she kind of has an idea. She's mentioned it a couple of times
Yeah.
that he could kill her, sort of thing, or something bad could happen. And I just think that she knows. But with Belinda, I don't know. What do you guys think? Do you think that Greg Gary is actually going to go and take out Belinda here? Or do you think he's just going to try to have a conversation?
I think he's going to try to have a conversation, but I think he also wants to know what she's going to try to do, because it's pretty one easy thing he could just do is work to make sure she gets fired or she gets sent home, and she's
Right.
just not at this place anymore because it's
Agreed.
no, she doesn't have any proof. Like, there's nothing really that she can actually do to him. Like, the
No.
only thing I could think of that might be able to get her somewhere is if she's able to track down Portia. But the problem is Portia wasn't in season 1, so it's just like there's not really a lot of transfer of information that can really happen, and you would need Greg/Gary to also go somewhere where there's jurisdiction, because if you're in Thailand, why are you guys going to bother with what happened, the other side of the world in Sicily?
Yeah, he has a lot of other options besides just going straight to killing her. So it just feels like that's not where it's going to go, but I completely understand why Belinda is worried that that is where that is going to go. I would be in the same spot. I'd be pretty concerned.
Yeah, I totally agree and understand with what Belinda is doing. I also would probably freak out a little bit if there was a giant lizard in my room as well. Not to the extent that she was, because I know that there are some poisonous lizards out there in the world. I don't know about that one, but it's just that I'm okay with lizards. I'm also okay with snakes. I'm not like Walton in that respect. You put other things in there and I would be freaking out like Belinda. I'm just saying.
Yeah, no, I'm fine with lizards. I mean, I'm out in California.
Yeah.
There's lizards everywhere. My background is Caribbean. Most of my family lives out in Guyana and Antigua. Lizards everywhere. You're
Yeah.
in the kitchen making a soup and there's a lizard on your wall. Like, it's not in anything for me.
I would be more worried about the poisonous fruit that we saw back at the start of this
I
season, which still feels like,
know.
okay, as
It-
we start to get into the Ed situation, not the Ed situation, the Tim situation
Yeah.
here, there are a lot of just like lingering things, whether it be the fruit, the monkeys, the
Yes.
gun. It's just like, I'm not saying the monkey's getting a gun. Let me make that very, very clear. But it's just, there's a lot of things that they're just repeatedly bringing up. And the thing that genuinely shocked me the most about this episode by far is how terrible Gaita continues to be at his job.
know.
I didn't have high expectations. There's that meme out there, that sign that's held up that sings like, our expectations were low, but holy insert word here. That was me with Guy Talk. I know he's not capable of doing a lot. I thought he would at least get the gun away from Tim, who he knows. And he was just like, hey, you might have something. And he was like, I don't know what you're talking about. And then
Yeah, he just needed to be like, I saw the tape and I know you went into my office and I know
Yeah.
you have it. I just need to have it back. Like, we'll just keep it all nice and quiet. I still think he wouldn't have gotten it back,
Yeah.
but that was the best way he was going to be able to go about it.
Yeah, it's just Guy Talk, you're so cowardly in this moment. And okay, I understand what you're probably worried about here, which is that
Losing his job.
Tim's going to throw a fit, and then it's all
That's
going to
right.
come out that this is exactly how he ever got the gun in the first place.
Right.
But it's just like, what's the other situation here? Oh, you know what's coming in the finale. Well, we know, but you don't know. But if something like that happens, don't you think that's going to be an even bigger problem for you, Guy Talk?
Yeah, I think it's just the biggest problem that he's up against in the way that he was just the way that he went about this is that he is the security guy at the gate
Yeah.
at this resort. Tim is a rich old white guy guest at this resort. It easily could turn into that Guy Talk is just going to get fired and he really needs his job.
Yeah.
It's a very difficult spot to be in when you are staff at a resort
Yeah.
and everybody there is really rich. It's very hard.
Yeah, and I mean, they especially did this in season 1, but income inequality has been a big part of
Yes.
the White Lotus over the years. And that's a big thing. He needs the job. He also really likes Mook, wants to be close to Mook, wants to
Mhm.
watch her dance. This is a great opportunity. He would never be there if it was not for that. But we need to have a further talk here about Piper and also Victoria, because if you guys missed it, we did this theory earlier, this past week, where
Mhm. Mhm.
Jess especially brought up this idea that Victoria may be some sort of informant, and I continue to feel like that may be correct in this episode, just because there's this whole conversation with Piper in particular where she's telling everybody the truth about why she's really there. There is no thesis. Tim's just not saying anything. He's just
Nope.
like zonked out of his mind, and it's just like Victoria doesn't seem to notice. Like nobody seems to be saying anything about how he's acting.
Yeah, that's the thing. So let's talk about the fruit again as well.
Yeah.
So there's sort of like this theory that's been kind of brewing with me where it comes into connection with what I said about Victoria, which is
Yeah.
that I think that she is the informant on Tim, that she either paid or gave the information to the girl at work who
Yeah.
was the whistleblower who, blew the lid off of everything.
Yeah.
It's not going to be Victoria. It's going to be some other stooge that she paid to be like, I'll give you X amount of dollars if you go and say this and just get it out there. And this girl was like, okay, no problem.
Yeah.
I'll take the payday. And that's how it went. It is very curious to me that Victoria is not noticing the state that Tim is in. I think she notices in herself, but she's
Yeah.
acting like she doesn't notice that he's very, stressed. Yes, she brought it up a little bit later, but we'll get into that. That he's very stressed. He's not acting himself. He is acting like maybe he is the person that has taken her medication. She knows that it's missing. She
Yeah.
knows that she gave him one. And she also knows the information about the fruit. And so there's kind of part of me that's wondering if she's like laced her medication with this fruit to make it have even more of an effect.
That's interesting. It's really interesting. I think there's a good chance of that. It feels like she has checked in on him here and there, but it is kind
Very,
of
very here and there.
yeah.
And then she just goads him when she does. Like, even when he was like right about
Mhm.
with the note and the gun, and she comes in, she's just like, hey, you seem really stressed and whatever, but you're so great and everything about you is so perfect. Like, think about who you are and where you are and how amazing you are. Come to bed. And she's done that so many times throughout this season
Yeah.
where she's basically like, yeah, there's kind of this problem with you, but don't worry, you're a Boy Scout. You're amazing. You're the greatest dad. You're amazing at your job. 10 out of 10. I'm just like, something's not right.
How oblivious can you be otherwise?
She might be.
It's very well possible. I just have a hard time buying into it. But okay, I have two more takes here on the Ratliffs in general. Number one, the whole Victoria speech to Piper was incredibly inappropriate, but it was also
Awful.
hilarious. I laughed so hard, and I feel bad that I did. But Parker Posey, I have said it before, but I will say it a million times. I love you so much as this character. I could just watch you be terrible for the rest of this season and be really, really happy. Now, does Piper suck? I think we need to have this discussion because
Why do you think she sucks?
she lied to her entire family, got her
Mhm.
entire family to spend probably tens of thousands of dollars to come out here
To go to a beautiful, all-inclusive resort where they get to sit by the pool and
Yeah.
have Mai Tais and eat fantastic food
Yeah.
and be entertained. Poor them.
Okay, see, but here's the thing. I just want to talk it out. She's good. She wants to go and be at this place for a full year, and she's
Mhm.
convinced herself, okay, I'm good to do this. I kind of have this feeling very deep within me that she doesn't really know what she's signing up for. It's sort of like she saw. Okay, this is a terrible comparison. I'm going to do it
That's all
anyway.
right. We're 33 minutes in, guys.
It's like she saw an Instagram post for the Fire Festival and saw, oh, that looks like a lot of fun. I'm going to go and do that. And then you actually do it. I just think when she actually gets in this thing that she really wants to do, it's not going to be what she actually thinks it is. I think she just doesn't know because she's been sheltered and privileged, and she's coming from this background of, oh, I am really set on this. It's just, there's just something about it that just makes me feel like she is very judgmental. This was pointed out earlier this season, that she's put her family through all this and they're all terrible. I understand that. But it doesn't make her a saint that she has gotten them to spend all this money for her to just lie to them and then potentially do this thing that she doesn't end up wanting to do because it's not what she thought it was.
And that's okay. She said that she knows that this might not be for her, but that she just wants to see that the whole point of this and going to this monastery and doing all of this is so that she can actually figure out who she is. And she knows that she can't do that if her family is around, because her mom and dad are like controlling where everybody is, what everybody's doing, what school they're going to go to, all of it. And she knows that the only way she's going to be able to figure out, is this for her or is it not for her? And both of those things are okay, is if she actually just does it. And that is kind of how life is, right? You don't know if something's right for you by just talking about it. Sometimes you have to just do it. And if it doesn't work out, it's okay. And I think that was the biggest point that she had brought up to her mom and dad, where her dad, I know he's out of it or whatever, where Tim was just kind of like, I saw it for a second there on his face that he got it, that it was like, yeah, it might not work out, but that's okay. She's really young still. She can pivot and do something else. I mean, it's not everybody knows exactly what they want right from the beginning, right? Like some people takes them a couple of different things or different tries or different experiences to finally be like, hey, I want to be a YouTuber. I wasn't doing this from when I was a teenager, right? I mean, YouTube wasn't around.
Yep.
Sometimes it takes the past. Should she have lied? Of course not. Was that the only way she was ever going to get out here? Yes.
And
Her parents never would have let her come out here.
This is where I'm kind of landing on it. I sympathize with Piper. I understand why she did what she did.
But you still think she's the worst.
I still think if I was one of her parents, I would be really, really mad about this. I would be like, Piper, you suck. You made us spend all this money to come out here on a false pretense.
Yeah, I get it. And I understand that they would be mad, but I don't feel bad for them because the whole family sucks.
They do. And that's the only reason why this is okay. But that's...
Except for Locke. I don't know. I cape for Locke. I like him. I feel really bad for him. I think he's just in a really bad situation.
Well, this is what this show is great at. It makes us have discussions about people who are just in really impossible compromising positions, and they do unlikable things, and yet we still find ourselves at times rooting for them. But we'll just ask you guys, who are you liking the most? And also, after 5 episodes, who do you think is actually getting taken out at the end of this season? Because it feels like everyone is kind of still on the board there.
Yes, my theory is still the same that it was, which that I think it's going to be Rick. I think he is going to have this sort of come to spiritual moment where he doesn't end up doing it, comes back to the resort, and he's one of them.
Please. I'm gonna
Please
become
let me take an L.
Tim at the end of this episode. Please, God, do not take Rick from me.
I know.
Wait, I want Walton in more seasons of the show. I doubt it, but you know what?
I just feel like it's going to be a full circle where he's going to come back. He's going to end up being the person that ends up getting killed. Chelsea will find out that she's pregnant, and their child will go into the circle again of like, my father was murdered.
Well, let us know what you thought about this episode. Hit that subscribe button. As we said earlier, The Last of Us is coming up, and we're really eager to get into that. And you can support us further by joining our Patreon. That link is in the description below. We're covering there The Pit on Max, and we have Bosch Legacy coming up as well. Thank you, guys. We'll see you here next time.